Hello there everyone, welcome back to Rock Your Journal. Before I talk about any prompts or anything like that, as I said in the previous video, my 6th of February page, I need all these pages now in place in the journal so that I have got, where is it? It was this one, yeah. I need these pages in contact so that I can work right the way across this double page. So I thought I'd start off by showing you how I'm actually going to reattach my pages to the cover, and I'm not decorating the cover at this point. So I've got this little pack that I ordered off Amazon, and I've got an Amazon affiliate link beneath the video, and I've actually put this in the link as well because I was quite impressed with what came in this package. So I'm just going to quickly go through this with you first. So there's these pre-waxed threads, okay, so these are already pre-waxed, so you know they kind of hold their shape a bit. But there's 4 different colours, and I thought for the colours of pages that we do with tea and coffee dyeing, I thought that these were ideal. So that's an ideal tea one, that's an ideal coffee one, that's an ideal white page one, and that's an ideal one for autumn. So those colours suited me down to the ground. And then tucked inside the tubes of the reels, as you just heard, there's this which has got loads of different sizes of needles in, which is really handy. There was also an awl, AWL, so that it's got a very pointy tip on it so that I can poke some holes in my pages. There's also these bone folders, so there's 2 of those that are in the pack as well. There was a ruler. There's a pair of snip scissors. As you can tell, I've not even opened them yet. So a pair of scissors for snipping your threads. So they always come in handy. There was 4 of these bigger binder clips, and there's this thimble, which is like a ring. So you would put it on your finger here, but then obviously you need to push it together so that it fits your finger, or pull it apart if you need to get it to fit, so that if ever you're stuck on getting your needle through, at least you're not going to poke it into the end of your finger. So I thought that that was quite a nifty little kit. So I'm going to use the 4 ring binders. I'm also going to use the awl, and I'm going to use the white thread. Now, I also purchased at the same time a reel of Gutterman's linen thread, which is really strong, but this isn't waxed and it's a lot thinner than this thread here. So a good way to tell if it's a strong thread, I hope I don't snap it now I've gone and said that, is to wrap it around your fingers and then pull. And if it starts cutting into your fingers, don't pull it no more, because it'll hurt. So yeah, so I thought it was handy to have some thinner thread as well. So that's the Gutterman's linen thread. I'll show you up close if I can. So there you go, 100% linen. Okay, the number is CA02776. okay, but again I've put it in the Amazon link down below. Now there's many different ways in which you can add your pages to your journal. So you could wrap a piece of twine or string around the from the inside centre to the outside, just wrap it round, tie it, done, dusted. You could do the same with elastic, just wrap the elastic round, tie it up. You could use an elastic band, so you just slot an elastic band over it, or you can stitch it, and I'm going to stitch mine. Now you either need to choose to stitch it flat or bent. Now I prefer slightly bent than I do flat. And the reason why you can't go between the two is because here at this point where they all meet, whilst they're flat, then they're all in the same position, but you've got to line the folds of the pages up with the folds of the cover. If you start to bend them afterwards, all your pages start ruckling up and it doesn't meet nicely at the bottom here. The same goes for the opposite way as well. If you go from bent to then flat, can you see how it's all fanned out? So again, it won't lay nice and flat. So you need to do one or the other. And I personally prefer to do the bent, slightly bent version. So I'm going to make sure that all my pages are all lined up, and then I use my thumbs to push it down, all the pages down into the center crease, and then I'm going to clip them together. Now I should have prepped them beforehand, shouldn't I? There we go. And I'm just going to put them on the edge of my page there. So one on each side of the fold. Make sure that's all pushed down snugly in that crease. And if you've got some work up here, so that you don't damage the work, hang on, let me just open these up, save faffing about. If you've got some work then you don't want to damage them with the clips, then you could put a piece of scrap paper over the top to just protect, and then put the clips on top of that. Okay, so that's my 4 clips in place, and I'm going to flip those back down because the last thing I want is my needle and thread catching on those. So now it's all nice and snug in that fold where the front cover is. So I happen to have this big piece of polystyrene which came in some packaging. So I'm just going to hold this up. Now you can do what's either called a 3-hole or a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. 3-hole, self-explanatory, you've got 3 holes. So with the 3 holes you would have one in the middle, one at the top, one at the bottom. Okay, for the 5 holes you would do the same again. One in the middle, one at the top, one at the bottom, and then one in between those 2 points. Okay, you can measure it with a ruler and just mark where you want those points to be, but I'm too lazy to do that, so I'm just going to use my eye to roughly guess where the center is. Alright, and then one at the top, and you want to do it a little way down from the top as well, so probably about 1/4 of an inch-ish. And one at the bottom, the same, about 1/4 of an inch-ish from the bottom. Alright, now I'm going to do mine as a 5-hole because I want to make sure that it's going to stay nice and secure. So I'm going to choose a centre point between those two, which is round about there-ish. And the same here, between those 2 points, find the centre. Of course you could put your staples back in if it was a journal booklet that you took apart and it had staples in, you could put the staples back in. Okay, so I've got 5 holes there, hope you can see those. Okay, let's put that off to one side. I'm going to load a needle up with some of this thread. And we'll see how it works. Put the little cap on my awl because I don't want to poke my fingers because that is really sharp. Let's have a look and see what needles we've got in here. Okay. So you want a sharp needle that's got a nice big eye on it, but not so big that it's going to force those holes that you've just punched to be a lot bigger. But you need it to be big enough that it will be able to take the thread as well. So I'm going to choose that one. It's like a little test tube, this. Okay, so for the length of the thread, because I'm doing a 5 hole, I'm going to pull plenty of this off. So once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. How long's that? We'll go with the 5th one, just to make sure. And then now I'm going to start at the top up here and just do a running stitch by going up, down, up, down, up, down, all the way till I get to the bottom, and then I'm going to bring it all the way back up to the top. Alright, so down that one, but leave a tail. And you want to leave a fairly generous tail as well, so I could just pop that under there. So hopefully hold that in place a little bit, and then up the next hole, down the next one. So as I say, all I'm doing is basically going up and down. Up the next one, and down the next one. And then I'm going to do exactly the same, just by going up and down, but this time I'm going in this direction. So I went down this last hole, so I need to come up at this one. So up there. Now you've got twice the amount of thread in that hole, so it might prove a little bit more difficult. And pull on it fairly firmly, not really hard so that you rip the pages, but you want those stitches nice and firm. And then down that middle hole, just pull that thread through and pull it through my needle a little bit more, just shorten that length. Okay, pull it again. So I went down, so now I need to come up and up. Oh, I'm caught on something. There we go. Now I've just gone and done a cardinal sin. And I'm going to have to unthread my needle because I've pierced the thread, and we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to unthread my needle and pull it out of that thread. There we go. Resolved. Pull on it again to pull it nice and firm. Okay, back to it. Okay, so I came up that hole. I'm going to go down this very first hole and try not to pierce the thread this time, Carol. Just giving myself a little pep talk. So down that hole. Lost my end. Where's my end gone? It's come out. So I need to thread that back up. And pop that back down that hole, because I want one thread either side. There we go. Alright. So I can check on my stitches on the inside that they're nice and firm, and I can check with my stitches on the outside to make sure that they're nice and firm as well, and just pull them in a little bit. Now the reason why I've done it so that the threads are finished at the top of the book up here and one either side is I'm going to pull them up to the top and I'm going to knot them together. And I'm going to make a loop and put the thread through that same loop twice. This is a really waxed up thread. It's really good. Okay, so that's now tied together nicely at the top. And then I'll do one more on the outside. So the threads are now on the outside of the cover, and do another one. Now the reason why I've done that is because normally we finish here in the centre and we have the threads hanging down in the centre, and then we can add charms or anything to it. What I was thinking of was these threads are now overhanging the top on the outside so that I can add any beads or charms onto those loose threads on the outside of the cover. So then when I undo those clips, all my pages are now securely in place. Okay, and then when I go to my page number 6, I've now got a nice flattish continuation from one page to the other, so it'll now make it easier for me to be able to decorate on this page. So this is just an additional video. The other thing that I did as well before I started stitching was I took all the loose parts out of the journal as well, so that they wouldn't become a hindrance. So I can pop all those now back in place and go to the centre, and I can add those back in place as well. And I don't have to keep these loose parts in here because they might actually affect how I decorate the other sides of the pages. Oh, come on. There we go. So I can keep taking them out if needs be, or keep them out until I'm ready to put them back in. But I'm now ready to work on that page. So I thought that I would just come by and show you how I've stitched my pages in, and in the next video I'll go through how I'm going to how this one now looks, and also the next prompt. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me on this one. See you soon. Bye bye.